everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel and welcome to this new video here. I'm Birgit from Koba.Siani. I thought to myself I would treat myself to a creative project, another version of my Rebecca pattern. This is only one of many options. For example, you can sew this pattern also as a short jacket or a long jacket with deep V-neck and big collar like this here. And this here is the long version with the round neck. In today's option, we will sew some kind of patchwork blanket jacket. I don't know how to call this. But I've seen a lot of these kind of jackets on social media. Here are some inspiration pictures here, where you can imagine that an old patchwork blanket is cut and a jacket is made out of it. I thought this idea was really cute and matching 100% to my Rebecca pattern. So I asked my mom, who is really a great patchworker, to send me some elements so that I can sew a patchwork Rebecca. And she said yes to this collaboration and sent me a parcel with some old fabrics from hers and some patchwork elements. So she sent me enough fabric for making my bias tape for the Rebecca, which is matching for the things I'll show you soon. She made some patchwork stars like this here by hand, no sewing machine involved, which I can use for this Rebecca version. Quite a lot of stars. And then also some squares with this kind of technique, all in matching fabrics. And I'm really excited to assemble these to a Rebecca jacket. Of course, I also already shopped for my other supplies. As a base fabric, I've had this regular cotton fabric at home in white, unfortunately, and I wanted it to be a little bit darker so that it would match to the stars, because this is too harsh, I think. So I have the idea to cut the pattern pieces roughly and to dye them with onion peels. And I hope the brown shade which will come out will be nice and matching with the stars here. Then of course we need an inside fleece fabric. I'll again use the Thermolam from Vailline, which is a thin fleece for making jackets and blankets and so on. I've already used this for this short jacket here and it worked out well. It is rather thin and has not much volume, but it's quite warm. Then I already shopped for a lining fabric and I chose this muslin fabric, cotton muslin, with a Leo print. And I think with this brown shade it goes very well with the shades of brown and red in the stars. So this video here will be about this patchwork version of the Rebecca jacket, and I hope I can inspire you to make a similar jacket perhaps, just to show you what a versatile pattern Rebecca is. The sewing process itself will be very similar to the original Rebecca, so I will link you here the sewing video for it. Here in this video I rather show you the differences and some inspirational takes. Before we start into the video, don't forget to like and to subscribe. This helps me a lot as a small creator. You can also follow me on social media if you like to see more creative content from my side. So let's start into the sewing video. Have fun!
At first, of course, I had to dye my cotton fabric. And as I wanted to dye the fabric in a pot, I roughly cut my pattern pieces so that they all fit well into the pot and also can be stirred well. Perhaps you already know this, but before dyeing, the fibers must be soaked with water so they can better absorb the color afterwards. Here is my prepared dye bath with the onion peels. Means I've cooked these for about an hour. And then I could add the fabric. This time I left the peels in, as I wanted the color on the fabric to be a little bit uneven, a little bit like a batik look. I've also used quite a small amount of onion peels for the amount of fabric. That means the color won't be too dark, but this was on purpose because I wanted to have a light beige. Then I rinsed the fabric and removed all the onion peels. As the color outcome was quite dark, I also did a quick wash in the washing machine, but normally you wouldn't do this after dyeing a fabric. Then it was time to create my actual main fabric. The dyed cotton would be my base fabric. And at first I've drawn all the outlines of the pattern pieces onto the fabric so that I would know how and where to place exactly my stars. Afterwards, I tried to figure out how to place all my patchwork elements. At first I thought I would do a mix of squares and stars over all the fabric, and I tried to distribute the colors evenly. This took me quite a lot of time, and unfortunately the result wasn't that satisfying. Very often this try and error is part of a design process. And although I planned to make red accents, the red stars my mom gave me just didn't match anymore. But when I saw this layout here, I got an idea. On the front and back part, I would only place the stars. The pockets I'd make out of one of the small squares, and the sleeves I would make out of the other square-shaped patchwork elements. The bright red sadly had to go. Instead, there should be burgundy accents with this fabric for the bias tape, and luckily I found a matching knit fabric in my stash for the collar. Making the sleeves definitely was one of the easier tasks, as I just had to assemble the different patchwork squares and then just press the seams to create the fabric for the sleeves. Of course, I took care to place the squares so that the colors and different fabrics were more or less symmetric for the sleeve pair. Then I cut the thermolam also roughly, pinned it to the outer fabric for the sleeves, and made the quilting. Of course, you can quilt any shapes, but I've decided to stitch right in the seam lines. The stitching hasn't to be along all seam lines, just enough to hold the fabrics together nicely. The pockets I prepared in the exact same way. As soon as all the quilting lines are done, I can cut out the pattern pieces exactly. For the front and back pattern pieces, I'm also adding now the thermolam, but again only roughly cut out. The stars are already pinned on with safety pins, and now I also fix the thermolam layer to all the other layers. The reason, by the way, why this time I'm not including the lining layer into all this quilting work is that I once tried it out and it really doesn't look good. I like it with polar fleece though, like I did it for my classic Rebecca jacket, but with the muslin fabric I don't like it at all. So here I'm sewing on the stars, on the cotton layer and the thermolam layer. Afterwards, the panels still looked quite naked to me, so I decided to quilt some small extra circles on the cotton fabric to give it some structure. But then, after having stitched the first circle, the result was so underwhelming, and I also thought that the quilted circles didn't help a lot with the nakedness of the panels. So I decided to stitch on small fabric squares in the fabrics which were used for the patchwork elements, and this is how it looked like after adding these, and I was satisfied with this. Then I could finally cut exactly the pattern pieces of the back and the front. In the next chapter I'm sewing the jacket itself, which is not any more different to the normal Rebecca jacket. I'll just show you some of the design details. Here you can already see quite well how it's going to look like, with the pockets and the sleeves in the square pattern and the body with a star pattern. The burgundy collar matches well to the piping fabric, and also the Leo print of the lining goes well with the bias tape. Then it was time to cut all the lining pattern pieces and also the knit collar. For making the bias tape, I'll release very soon another video for you, which will be linked here as soon as it will be online. Then I pinned the lining layer to the quilted outside layer. You may be tempted to skip that step, but I would really recommend to baste also the layers together along the fabric edges, because later when sewing the jacket together, you have enough to do with all the thick layers and the bias tape. So like this, you don't have to worry if all the fabric edges are still aligning or not. Then it was definitely time to change to a thicker needle, as I'm getting to the thick layers soon. I changed to a needle in size 100. Like it is mentioned in the Ribblr sewing instruction, I'm closing the shoulders first, assembling body and sleeves, and I'm sewing on the pockets. As you can see it perhaps from this clip here, I decided to make the Leo print side the one with the visible armhole and side seam pipings. I just thought that the star side is exciting enough and that the Leo side would need this frame. On the star side, I stitched on the pockets with the sewing machine, and as this Ribblr should also be a reversible jacket, I'm now attaching the other pockets, and I'm doing this with a hand stitch so that this seam here won't be visible from the other side. A quick fit check in front of the mirror keeps the motivation. Then I went ahead with the sewing with the regular sewing instruction. As closure in the center front, I chose again metal press buttons, and these are really very quick to install. Of course, I've enforced the fabric before, everywhere where a button should be. The detailed how-to is also described in the sewing instruction of Ribblr. And because of the reversibility function of the jacket, I'm here also covering the back of the buttons so that they look nice on both sides. After gluing on these fabric circles with an application foil, I'm embroidering the fabric edges of these small circles. This looks cute and makes sure that the fabric stays in place. At the Leo side in the back, I also added a label detail with embroidery. Here you can see now the ready jacket on my mom. According to her body measurements, she would normally wear a size M for the Ribblr jacket. But as she wanted to have something really oversized, we sized up one size and I made an L for her. We are both really happy about how the jacket came out, but almost more important, we both enjoyed very much this collaboration. Plus, I have new content for you and she can keep the jacket.
I hope you found it inspiring. I really like both sides very much, but this patchwork side would be my main side. As always, don't forget to follow me here on YouTube or on social media and leave me a thumbs up here on this video. I hope to see you very soon again to my next sewing video. Take care until then. Bye!